Hi, Nate. We're going to take a look at your postings for the course, actually all three of them right now. I'm glad you were able to get them in and we're all straight away. So let's screen share here and start off with emphasis. So what we do is we just start off by taking a look at the accuracy. Did you follow the basic parameters of the project? Sort of starting at a particular distance, cutting it in half, cutting it in half, cutting it in half. That's just the first structural part of it. What it's meant to do is it's meant to get you exploring, moving around a space. It's also meant to help you to identify a little bit of your own personal point of view. What is it that you are interested in exploring? What are some of the things that catch your eye and you're interested in showing us? Also, you have these sort of prompts, right? The words, right? The portrait of a structure or line or shape. Sometimes it's just the one word. All of those things are meant to give you a little bit of focus. In some cases, they're very straightforward. In some cases, they're a little bit more ambiguous, like, portrait of a structure or in the environment or as I see it. Those are a little bit more open to interpretation. Even shape or texture is a little bit more interpretation. Line, well, all of them can be interpreted, but some of them are more visually connected than others. So anyway, taking a look at what we have here, looks like you decided a kind of a unusual structure here. That's your object, and you definitely took the heart of putting it into the environment. Also, you've got the rule of thirds going on here, even though we weren't even thinking about that, but that's a good thing. It's never hurts. You got this sort of placed in the middle here. We're not even able to really identify it as a part of the subject, which is okay. Now, we cut that distance in half, and now we're here. That seems like a whole lot of a jump, right? That's a lot more than half. So here's the idea: is we didn't want to quite go so far, right? We're all the way to there now, and that's like 9/10 of the way closer to it. And I realized you were like way far away, and then you felt like you needed to get closer. But with this image being the second one, you might have been needed to be the first one needed to be closer than what you had it in. You see what I mean? And just in terms of the structure, this has to do with the instruction. Now, I don't do the instructions this way to trip anybody up or to make it difficult. What I do is the reason the instructions are laid out in a lot of these ways is this is how you're going to be expected to work. When you're working with a client or you're working, with an agency and things like that, they're going to have structural sort of setups. They're going to have certain things and ways of doing it that you're going to have to follow, and you're going to have to adopt, and you're going to have to do it that way, or they're not going to want you to do it for them. So it's that kind of thing. We want to practice it. So you jumped a little bit too much here. It's not the end of the world, but you jumped a bit too much there on the first one. However, let's keep going. So we kind of went from here, then to here. We kind of got in a little bit closer. So this is the portrait of the structure, and then you get into shape. I think it's a good idea by lining it up here. I think you might have done better if we would have cropped right here. If you can see where I have the sort of cursor with the hand right here. If the image ended starting here and kind of went across like this, what it would do is it would break that plane and make this not a urinal thing, but it would make it just this gray series of shapes. It would also had contained this area and this area into rectangular shapes as well. And so you'd have this rectangle shape, this, this one, this. You'd have rectangles everywhere. As it is, it's a portrait of a urinal because you've got the roof here and it just is kind of here. This is actually probably a better example of the portrait. This is probably more getting closer to the shape. So it almost seems like you're like one ahead. Although Actually, you know what? You are good. You are doing what I'm saying, because now what I'm noticing, not everybody had theirs up at the top. You identified yours at the top, because I'm looking at most people had their things toward the bottom here. So yeah, you're doing what I'm wanting you to do here in terms of shape. You cut it off. That's good. We could have cut it off even more here. Yeah, just like that. So you are creating the shape. So good job. I just misidentified where your how you were identifying these. So even this, if we had done that cut off there, if you had cut it off at the top there, we could have highlighted these lines a little bit better. It's all about refining and extra refining and all of that kind of stuff. Now, this may not have been the best subject to use for this project, only because there's really limited. There's nothing wrong with having a minimal subject to use, but we knew going in that we had certain things we're going to be exploring. I mean, you had the choice to go in one direction or another. And this being gray and there's no color to it, you needed to work with line and texture and all this stuff. So it made it really extra challenging for you to be able to do that. And, color really is kind of getting away from you. I'm not sure that this is, and if I were to look at this, I wouldn't be thinking, oh, they're emphasizing color over here with this one. Light, you're getting a bit better here. This is called short lighting, where you have the side lighting kind of coming over from the back side of the building. Gives you a little bit more of an emotive quality. We talked about this in class, about the time of day and shooting at various times of day, and the idea that these projects are not meant to be shot within 10 minutes. No more than a painting should be done in 10 minutes. These projects are meant to be done over several days. You got 5 days to do each of these projects. They're meant to take 5 days to do because you keep revisiting the location at different times of day. You shoot, you go back, you look at them, and then you go back to the location and you make more photographs. That's how you get better at photography. That's how you improve. If you just go out and you make photographs for 10 minutes and come back, well, you got what you got, and you're not going to improve. So that's why we do that. This is an excellent photograph, but it can be, if you had a lot more choice in terms of lighting, you would have been able to find many more photographs like this. Here we're getting some good use of shadow. That's all pretty good. Because this is the shadow one. I think you're emphasizing that fairly well. Texture, you're kind of stepping back now. It seems like also you're not moving in any closer now again. So that's kind of, again, we have these parameters where we want you to be moving in. There's a reason to have those things. It moves you in a direction. It sets you up to be able to have to perform your creativity under certain circumstances. Anyone can be accidentally creative if there's no circumstances by which you are being asked to do stuff. So we have these sort of layouts. We have this sort of project brief saying, do this, this, and this under these circumstances. We have that set up so that you were able to test yourself under different kind of conditions. So the idea that we're starting from this large space and coming in a little bit by half, and then coming in by little half, and coming in by little half. And notice I'm circular, so you're going around in a circle each time you get closer and closer and closer. That's the way these should feel. They should feel like you're going from here and every time. So that by the time you get to number 7, see, we're about that distance here. So we're about this distance here, which is number 4. And then we're at this distance here, which is number 5. It's not a whole lot closer. And then we're here with 6, which is farther away. And then 7, which is kind of the same far away. Then we have 8, which is like smack dab right up close on stuff. And then 9, which is way far away again. You see what I mean? I mean, the project meant to go forward. If this was a client who needed you to do just that, needed you to go from far away to very close up, for whatever reason they needed you to do that, and you came and you gave them these 9 images and they were like this, they would go, what? We needed you to do this particular thing, XYZ, and we weren't able to do that. They would either think, 1, you weren't listening to them, or 2, you don't respect their needs. So either way, you don't want either of those things. You don't want, 1, to think that you weren't listening to them, or 2, you don't respect their needs. That you're just giving them whatever you feel like you want to give them. So that's why we do those things. So I want to, it's not arbitrary. I always want you to know that the sort of structures that we put together are meant to help you work through certain conditions so that you can build skills. So moving into the rule of thirds, let's look at those a little bit. A rule of thirds sets us up to another set of challenges, and that is, we have this structure, this very sort of rigid structure. How do we use it within a composition to create this dynamic balance? Now, as an overview, I look at the overview. First things first, and I'm sure I've said this, maybe you were not there during the many times that we've talked about this. Sunlight is your subject. We will not ever photograph at night. This is not a nighttime photograph class, so don't photograph at night anymore, okay? I'll accept these for now, but I don't want to see any more nighttime photographs, all right? We need daytime photographs. Nighttime sets up a whole nother set of series of considerations that we address at other classes and other times. So unless I'm specifically talking about let's photograph at night using artificial light, it's always presumed you're going to shoot during the day where sun is your main light source. So take that and as what it is, but you'll always shoot from now on for all the other projects that you're doing, never nighttime. Or indoors, by the way. We're always outside during the day is for the class. So we'll take a look just at the structure here anyway. Nice positioning of the horizontal line. This is really good. Excellent job in terms of finding this sort of shadow area. You've got the rule of thirds vertical going on here. So structurally, that's pretty much spot on. This one gets a little bit lower, and of course you just fade off into nothing because of the black sky. Again, this becomes a problem. This is one of the reasons why we don't do nighttime, because you're looking straight at these lights and the black fades off into nothing. It sets up, like I said, it sets up a whole nother series of problems that we just don't want to have you be dealing with when we're doing it. Structurally, you're working with a rule of thirds here, but compositionally, things aren't working very well because you've got the black sky and it's not really there. Here, you've got the sun. We've had some students photographing with a light source in the image. Don't do that. That's another thing that we want to avoid. Pointing your camera at the sun is like pointing your eyes at the sun. The camera is no more or less sensitive to that intensity of light than you are. The camera can stand it, but you don't want to do that. It will damage the optics of your camera, for one. Number two, it's not a very pleasant thing to be looking at in a photograph because it's just a glaring hole that is sort of piercing at us. It just obliterates anything that we're looking at otherwise. So it's not a good idea to have the sun directly in there. Now, if you had repositioned yourself so that the sun perhaps was down here, was lower in the sky, or was being blocked by the chimney or something, then you'd have a better situation because the sun would then be producing other kinds of light. But in this case, it's just, other students have done it too, and I've mentioned in class for that as well. Here, this is just about as dark. I mean, you got a little bit of a blue sky left, but we're just going to avoid this. Good use of the rule of thirds. You positioned that there. Again, you're a little bit low on this. The nighttime, we're just gonna not do the nighttime at all. Shooting from your car, I can see this, that at least we're doing different times a day, right? That's a good thing that you're shooting at various times a day. I think that's excellent that you're doing that. Here you've got the rule of thirds pretty well established on each of them. This would be a good graphic image too, because the graphic designer would love this empty space here. This could be like an album cover with the band's name or whatever, all that kind of cool stuff. This is about as dark as you want to ever be. This would be, I would say, this is as late as you would want to make a photograph. This is what we call blue hour. It's where the sun has gone down, but it's still illuminating the sky. You can see the sun is still the main light source here. You got the artificial light source there. This is called mixed lighting. This would be the absolute last moment that you would be encouraged to photograph. After this, forget about it. Don't photograph at night anymore. Proper rule of thirds though. This looks a whole lot like another image, the cedarwood. Yeah, 1, 2. It looks like we repeated an image, but that can sometimes happen, I guess. But yeah, it looked like we repeated one image. Anyway, just take it for what it is. I'm not meaning to make you freak out or anything over, oh no, I did nighttime photographs. Yeah, don't do it again. So that's all. We won't do nighttime photographs. So rhythm. Rhythm is, now we're using a repetition of a motif. A motif is a shape, an object, a pattern of some sort, a color. It could be a lot of different things. In this case, you're using, in some cases, like windows. It looks like in the first 2 you're using windows. Here we got the sun again. I won't mention that, we don't want the sun. It's a much better image when you don't have the sun in there. This is a very good example of progressive rhythm without it like smacking us in the face. I think this is a very good example of that because you've got it in multiple areas. You got progressive rhythm going on here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got a progressive rhythm going on with the trains. You got a progressive rhythm going on with the windows. So excellent, excellent, Nate. This is a very good photograph for this. You're even using the rule of thirds to a certain extent here. This one's hitting on all of the points that we want you to be hitting on. This one also is a very good rule of thirds. The progressive rhythm is a little less aggressive on this one. Now, what's important is that you're able to identify these things. So I'm glad that you did do that because I was noticing you didn't label it, but then I looked up at the top that you did label all of them as a group. So that's good. Undulating is sort of like progressive, but we want to kind of be in 2 different directions. So let's see how you did with that. So we have here, you have this movement kind of going back and forth. Very good. Nice quality of light too. I like that your lighting goes from shade to daylight back into shade again. This is almost like, I'm not sure, pick one or the other. Not quite. Both of the images next to one another are too similar. Think of this and this like if you had a sentence that said, the red dog jumps, and then the next sentence it said, the burgundy dog jumps. That's basically what you did here. This is the red dog jumps, this is the burgundy dog jumps. And you put both of them right next to each other. Why are we reading both of them? They're just so close to one another that they're not necessary. So that's something that you learn as well in terms of putting your images together. These are just, even though they're different perspectives slightly, they're the same photograph for all intents and purposes. This is a really nice image for progressive. It's a little bit ambiguous for undulating because it doesn't go in as many directions, but I think it's a good try. Now, again, red dog, burgundy dog, red dog, burgundy dog. These are explorations. When you're out there photographing, I want you to do this. I want you to shoot here and then move a little bit and shoot here and then move a little bit and shoot over there. But then I want you to choose varieties to say this and then say that right one after the other. It just feels repetitious for no apparent reason. So we don't want to do that when we're showing these things. again, we have a repeating image there. I'm not sure why that's that way. We want to fix that. The repeating images, the images that are too close to one another, those are the kinds of things that you may not, we're establishing the expectation here in terms of what we're looking for. So for all intents and purposes, you have two photographs for progressive. You got this, and this, which is effectively one photograph, and then this and this, which are basically one photograph because they're 2 feet from each other. So anyway, but you've gotten them correct. At least you have undulating pretty much correctly identified. Alternating rhythm, that's where it's kind of facing forward and it's back, forth, back, forth. Let's take a look at what you have here. Yeah, it looks like you've got that established pretty well. This is an interesting one because you have some business going on in the background. You got this pattern that's happening here. You've got the centralized sort of whatever that is, the pirate ship wheel or sailor's wheel. And then you got the people in the background. That's a nice strategy there. This one is a little, I don't know, I think it can come in a little bit closer here to kind of crop a little bit. That way we don't need this extra stuff. Photographing a building like this is hard too, because you're kind of looking up at it and then the building is tweaked this way. So it just feels wrong. You almost have to be up on a ladder or up on top of a car or something like that so you can hit it more straight on. You need to be, your head needs to be up here. This is where the camera about needs to be, where you're photographing, and your height needs to be about here. And then you'll be at the right position to really make this photograph work. If you were to see a pro do this, that's what they would be doing. They would be doing this, or they have a special camera which allows them to make adjustments for this kind of thing. So that's just a bit of information. Same thing for this one. This starts to become almost progressive rhythm because of the exaggerated perspective. I can see what you're doing, and I can see what the alternating rhythm is, and it's a good job, but it starts to become kind of almost progressive because of the way it's tweaked that way. Again, you would want your head to be about here to make this photograph work as far as your height. This one gets a little bit better because you're farther back away. You're farther away from the building, and so the angle of that sort of tweak is less, much less. Plus, the center one helps you a little bit as well. And you've done a beautiful, beautiful job of lining this up very perfectly. I almost think that if we had done the rule of thirds here, it would have looked a little bit better. If it was either up here or down here just a little bit, it would have really struck nicely. This is kind of an interesting little mark here to kind of break that sky open. Nate, this is a really good photograph. So what I'm seeing here is kind of interesting. You have some good photographs here. You have some, not just good photographs, even great photographs here. Not all of them are following like the parameters in the instructions. And that's an easy thing to fix. All you have to do is just clarify what we're trying to do. The instructions are not meant for my benefit. I'm not putting instructions there just because I like to make instructions. I'm putting those there to set up a framework so that you can work within them, so that you can practice your vision within that kind of condition, right? We set up certain conditions and then you work within them. That is creativity. That's the kind of experience you're going to have when you're working professionally. And I want to give you that experience now while you can practice it, while you can explore and get better at it. And I don't want it to be your first time you're having the experience when you're out and you're trying to make a living. So that's one of the reasons why we have those parameters. The photographs that you made that are excellent are just through the roof, really great. The photographs have beautiful lighting. You have excellent sense of composition. You're really kind of hitting them really well. And then some of the others just don't work at all. I'm going to guess it has something to do with the amount of time that you're able to devote to these things, especially that undulating rhythm where it just seemed like maybe you took even just a couple of minutes and just made a couple of photographs because you needed something. And I understand, we run into that kind of stuff. That's why I have the resubmission thing going on for the class, so that you can kind of recover and resubmit stuff when you're not happy with maybe the grade, or it just didn't work out for you that week and you're busy or whatnot. So excellent photographs. I really am interested in your potential. I'm hoping that you're able to manage a little bit more on your time and be able to get your stuff in on time, stuff like that. I'm usually never really accepting anything late, but I understand we've had some technical difficulties and all of that kind of stuff. So we're going to just take it as it comes. But I think you're in a lot of ways, you're where you need to be, but I just want you to pay a lot more attention to the parameters and instructions. Ask me questions, send me messages. I'll try to clarify as much as possible. So, all right, we will see you in class next time. All right, bye-bye now.